you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, welcome back to Common Folk.
We're back.
We're here.
Back again.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Gotta turn my mic down.
Is it loud?
Came out a little hot. No,
Oh.
I saw you went for it as soon as I...
No, I felt like you were a little quiet there. So I was...
All right.
Turning him up.
So,
Millie doesn't smell. You thought they got sprayed by a skunk.
Yeah, I smelled a skunk outside.
That would have been interesting.
would have been a pain.
And your dog's here.
Yeah, Kyla's here too.
Kyla's a little bit bigger, but Mel.
And dumber. He's running in front of the ATV there.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, he's got to learn that.
I mean, honestly, it's going to happen.
Oh, I got him once.
What?
Joel got him with the motorcycle.
Yeah, Joel got him with the motorcycle.
He got nipped twice.
And then
still...
10 minutes later, I got him
I'm
with the ATV.
talking about getting sprayed.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, when did that happen?
He just runs in front of tires.
No. Why does your dog does that?
Well, he's never really been around it, and he's just a pup. He just turned 1.
Okay, so yeah, he's stupid.
Hasn't been learned yet.
Okay, been learned. But I'm curious of the concoction. Now you got me thinking. I was going to Google it. If it still is tomato juice.
I don't know.
I think people have like a specific mix.
I mean, this has got to be like a normal thing for people out in the country. And I kind of feel weird that we don't even know this.
Well, we don't. Yeah, I mean, our dogs, I guess, so far have been smart enough not to attack a...
Back in the day that happened. Remember when we had the big dog?
That was in Texas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He got sprayed and it was nasty.
Texas stinks, so I'm not surprised. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Come on.
Horns down, horns up. Whatever.
I'm just saying. Like, it just made my mind think, oh, crap, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? But she's fine.
I got tree branches in my beer.
Well, what were you guys doing before this?
Doing a little
I
scouting.
show up ready to record, and our guest is here, and I'm like, where are the boys?
Oh, doing a little scouting, looking for some mushrooms.
And
It's turkey time.
Yeah, turkey time.
did you find any mushrooms?
We did not.
Okay.
I think we're still a little early.
I showed Ben the spot, though.
Oh, you had a secret spot.
Well, it's not secret. It's just... We're
Yeah,
out.
it better not be secret. It's our land.
It's not secret anymore.
I always
I'm
told you
kidding.
guys where they're at.
I really never asked. I'm just giving you shit. All right. Well, you know.
So we got John here. John, do you ever do any mushroom hunting?
Yeah, we used to go out to my grandma's quite a bit. She's got land out here in Plattsmouth, and got the boys into it a couple years ago, and we haven't been so lucky the last couple of years finding anything. But they enjoy it.
We're pretty close to the river, and like a lot of people around here will go hunt like the riverbanks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I personally have never done that. Have you ever been down the riverbanks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it seems like
got to
that's
be
the
the
most...
big ones. Yeah.
It's that's just like deer hunting and people like wandering on trespassing. We run into it just as much, if not more so, mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
So anyone can go on that property then, or is it?
I mean, where my father-in-law owns property along the river, technically no,
Okay.
but people do.
In this particular river, the Missouri, I
But
think it's
anybody
all
could.
Like state ground or
Right.
federal ground. This ground over here is wound up pretty good because it even says on the Onyx or a map service. Depending on which one you look at, is it Nebraska Parks? Is it the Corps of Engineers? So like they even kind of bicker. Like I'll pull a.
Oh really? Huh.
So that's not. I'm not talking this river. I'm talking over on the Platte.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
So we're up in the hills a ways, so it'll, like, those mushrooms will start popping down there, and then it'll take a week or two, and it makes its way up here. So people will start finding them on the river, and that's when we know up here we can find them.
Right.
In about a week or so.
We just haven't really had like a mother lode though in years that we've found.
Nope.
I mean, we'll find like randoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all I've ever found out here too. Is just cluster here, cluster
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but then you see the guys that have like sell them, right?
Yeah.
They got big old buckets. Where are they finding those at?
Well, those dudes are
That's a
also
good
walking
question.
like 10, 15, 20 miles a day. Too,
Oh, you
some of
think?
those guys.
Spend a lot of time.
I knew a guy from the Lynch area that's what he would do. I mean, it was a big moneymaker for him every spring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
So,
maybe we'll be lucky.
Yeah, maybe we will. All right, let's get into it. So we got Jon here.
Yeah.
Jon Baumgart, local boy. We got to know Jon through our sons. So our sons are the same age, play sports together, go to the same school, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Getting in a lot of trouble together.
Hopefully not too
Yeah,
much.
hopefully not too much yet.
It's probably coming.
Yeah,
It's probably
exactly.
coming.
I mean,
They're 12, so
It's right
you
around the
boys
corner.
probably weren't little perfect boys, so it's about to happen.
Oh yeah, we were.
I was. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason we have Jon out today is we wanted to chat a little bit about sometimes, you know, with other folks that we've had out here, we've been talking about just kind of the entrepreneurial spirit and like what makes you do that and why you make that decision and how, like, what led up to that. You know, I think there's a lot of folks out there listening who feel like they want to do something different. You know, they're like stuck in a rut, and how do they get that motivation and how they get a little bit of inspiration and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the general idea here. You know, first of all, you're a young dude. How old are you?
31.
31. All right.
Yeah.
So when we met you, that was what, a few years ago. You were 28, 29 years old, something in that range.
Yep, and I believe I just started my first business.
Okay.
then,
Yep. So doing your thing there, which in general is at a pretty young age to have like a serious small business as your primary job. You know, a lot of people will dabble in things and, you know, play around with it while they're doing this or that or whatever. But that's the kind of things that I want to get into. So to begin with, let's talk a little bit about kind of where you grew up and how all that was, and anything that you can think of that might have given you a little bit of inspiration to do what you're doing today.
Okay. So I grew up here at Beaver Lake, went to school at Plattsmouth High School. And if I were to say one thing, I don't think I could really narrow it down.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of factors. So kind of growing up, my parents, they had the mindset of, you know, they're going to stay with one company and that's where they're at. So like my dad, he's worked for AgriVision for 26 years, I think it is.
Okay.
My mom's been with the state for about 20 years. So they kind of had that motto, if you get a job, you stay there. So I'd say as far as the working hard, they probably taught me everything I need about that.
Like the commitment and the
Yeah. Yep.
sticking it out and seeing it through. And
Right. I'd say the first person to own a business in my family would be my grandparents. They owned a movie store here in town, and then they also owned one down in Nebraska City.
Oh, cool.
And then my grandpa also DJ'd weddings for people around here.
Okay.
So that was kind of the first thing in my family I can remember that was like a own your own business and stuff like that. And then say the next people would have been my aunt and uncle. They kind of just took that gamble of getting out of what they were doing. I think she was doing real estate and he was doing auto body for like 14 years or something.
okay.
And so they went in and they made their own company that accelerated graphics.
Yep.
And just kind of watching them go through everything, it was like, man, they took a gamble, and I kind of like that, and what they built up. So other than that,
So you've
see.
seen it from all angles. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah.
have family that has dabbled and shown you some of that, but then you had your parents
Yep.
also just
Yeah.
being consistent grinders,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So if you rewind that a little bit, you grew up in the Plattsmouth area, is that correct?
Yep.
All right. And that's where you went to school.
Yep.
And then did you guys live in Plattsmouth?
No, we lived down at Beaver Lake.
Okay, so you guys lived at Beaver Lake. And your parents, you know, worked at their remote locations that they would go to.
Yep.
You went to school in Plattsmouth? Okay. And then as you were a kid, like growing up, did you ever think about what you wanted to be, or?
Oh, man. It kind of went all over the place. The youngest memory I have would probably be, for whatever reason, I wanted to be a cop. I
Okay.
have no reason.
Huh.
Like, I don't know why. but-
Okay.
But then when I got to high school, I kind of started thinking I wanted to actually do graphics arts design. So that's what I was going to go to school for, and I never went through with it. I don't know why. I mean, I had a couple offers to go play football at small schools, but I couldn't even give you a reason as to why I didn't take those and why I didn't do that, but
Yeah.
it just worked out. I mean,
yeah, right. Yeah, so that was your thing. Real quick before we carry on, I'm going to move this mic right in front of your face.
Okay, there we go.
So we can get a little more noise out of you. There you go. It's all good.
Is that good?
There you go.
Okay.
So,
But you saying that is very relatable because I don't really know why I didn't go and play volleyball.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I had a couple offers. I don't know if I was burnt out. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's that was real, or like, who knows? But it's interesting because. So did you go to college then at all?
I did not.
No. Okay.
I went straight into the workforce.
Did you? Okay.
And
yeah.
Back then I graduated 2009, so it was that recession.
Yeah.
And I remember just, I really don't want to go to college.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I want to do. I think I want to do this, but I'm not sure.
what did with that in mind, how did that conversation go at home? What did your parents think about that?
Oh yeah.
They were more of kind of, you make your decision. That's one thing that I did kind of growing up, I appreciated that. Now being this age, is they never forced me to do anything. It was kind of my decision. So then I'm the one that learns from that decision. Whereas if they forced me to go to college, I didn't like it, then maybe I'd have some resentment against them.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I do appreciate. But to this day, I still don't have an answer as to why I didn't. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have done that. But then how if things would have changed,
Just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
So you have siblings?
Yes, I do.
What do you got?
I've got a younger sister who's 5 years younger than me, and then I've got Dalton, who he just graduated high school last year, so kind of a age separation there.
Few younger than you, yeah. So you were kind of more of like an only kid from the sounds of it. I mean, because they were so much younger, you didn't really like necessarily grow up with them.
No, and my mom had me when she was really young. She was 16 when she had me, so it was kind of. I grew up kind of watching her, struggle for a little bit, but then she met my stepdad when I was 5, and he's just kind of been my dad ever since. But then, me and my sister, we had a kind of a close relationship growing up, and then I didn't really hang out with my little brother at all because he was just, I was 13 at the time he was born, and then went to high school, and I was kind of like, dude, I'm in high school,
Yeah.
But now we're pretty close. I'd say all three of us, we're pretty close.
So that's kind of an interesting spin as well. So your biological father, do you know him?
I don't.
And have you ever met him or know anything?
So last time I saw him was when I was 18. He had reached out, and so I went and met him. And other than that, I think it was 3 years old was the last time I saw him.
Okay.
He came around. I met him 3 times there when I was 18. He came around to see because Braxton was going to be born here in a couple months.
Yep.
Yeah. So he came around, met him one time, and then I haven't heard from him since. So
Is he local or?
He was at Plattsmouth, and I think he moved up to like the Bellevue Papillion area. So
So your your mom raised you as a single mother until you were 5-ish?
Yes. Yeah, I think she knew my stepdad. They kind of knew of each other.
Okay.
I think they may have started dating when I was 3 or 4.
Okay.
And then, so we lived with my grandparents up until then, and then they met, got married, and then we moved down to the lake. So been there ever since.
Is your mom and your stepfather still together?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, I always refer to him as my dad because that's just how he's been. He's taught me everything I know. But so, and that was another thing I didn't appreciate until I got older. I always had that kind of resentment growing up. But
yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff from him, and so
That can have a lot of effect.
What was that first business that you started there?
So the business, when I met these guys, I was doing detailing.
Okay. Like auto detailing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Auto and boat. And I started off just doing boat detailing, and it kind of took off. And then I went to car detailing, and then I met Adam Olson, partnered up with him, and then we kind of just dabbled in everything. We're doing cars, boats, farm equipment, window tint, just kind of everything.
Yeah,
so,
all right.
But I did try to do lawn service a long time ago. It was like 2015, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. That's hard.
That's always a good start, like lawn service. I mean, you see a ton of them. There's a huge demand for it.
Oh, for sure. Because then don't you do snow removal? Isn't that then the opposite?
Whatever, all the things that come along with it, like
Right?
anything outdoor. You might start doing a little landscaping. You might start working on small engine. Like there's 100 things that come with that.
Yeah.
But it's a great an entrance into entrepreneurship for anybody, because you learn like, okay, I have to build relationships. I have to do what I say I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have to provide a quality product.
Market
it. Yes. I have to figure out how
you actually have to do it. You actually have to mow the yard.
You have to go do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go do the work. You've got equipment investment. How am I going to, like, it gives you a little interest into P&Ls, like, I've got all the cost of this, but here's how much I'm making, and then but now I need this guy to work for me, and how much am I going to pay him?
Yeah,
right.
It's kind of that.
It is
microcosm of like entrepreneurship. I think it's a great way to get into it.
Well, we even had Joel, or I don't want to say we had Joel do it, but like he wanted to mow lawns. What was it, a couple summers ago, and had a few lawns that he did every week.
Yeah, we ran around and did yards, and of course, he was 10 years old or whatever it was, 9 years old, and we would use my truck and my trailer
and my time,
essentially my lawnmower.
Yeah,
and then we would run around and go do these things, and I would go with him obviously because I had to drive. And I would tell him, all right, man, this yard, what are you going to charge? $30? All right, cool. You're going to have to pay me 10 because I'm doing all this. Yeah. So this is your expense. You get to keep 20. I'll stand up here on the hill and watch you.
Yeah.
But we've used all my stuff.
Oh, my lawnmower broke down. You guys did.
Oh, yeah, he did mow your property, too.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That teaches some lessons pretty quick. So that's a great way to get into it, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're doing that, and then you decided, just because you liked automotive and stuff like that, and you wanted to get into some detailing, or
at the time I was doing mowing, I was actually doing it on the side of a full-time job. It was just kind of being around. Like I said, I was around a lot of people who own their own business, and so my fiance Leah, she cuts hair, so she's kind of her own business owner. Her brother owned his own construction company. So then I was like, well, what can I do around here that people need? And at that time it was lawn service. So I tried that out, and I ended up getting a lot of accounts, and it was going fine. But the hard part is there was so many people doing the snow removal around there, so I just couldn't even get into that part of it.
Okay.
And then the other part of it is kind of like what you guys are talking about. Oh, I gave our boy, a mower, and he started doing this, which is awesome. But then I'm trying to compete with, this guy's going to come over here and do it for $20. I'm like, well, I've got employees, I got this. So
yes,
it was a hard market to get going. And I give credit to all those guys that have built, these great successful lawn companies, because they're able to do it all. They're doing lawns, landscaping, like you said. Yeah. So then I had a buddy who also had a big lawn service out there, and I just said, hey man, I don't think this is for me. Would you be interested in, kind of taking my accounts from me? And he said, yeah. So kind of worked out that way, and I took a break from just doing my own thing. Went and back driving a semi. That's what I did for 8 years. So, and I just obviously didn't like that. So
I didn't know that. 8 years, really.
So when I got out of high school, the only job I could find at that time, because that recession, you couldn't get a job, was UPS. So I was loading trucks, and it was just, it was awful.
Yeah.
So,
was this, just to be clear, you were working at UPS
when I graduated
when you got out of high school, and then you were doing the lawn business on the side when you were at UPS?
So no, not at that time.
It gets more complicated.
Yes. Okay. So I've kind of been all over the place. So I started at UPS, and back then it was just, that was a job you didn't get rid of. Like, you were on board, they got the good benefits and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but there was a 10-year waiting list to be a full-time employee.
Yeah.
So I was like, gosh dang, this is kind of hard. So I was always trying to find part-time work, on top of it. Well, I ended up going and getting my CDL. And then I started delivering, and I found myself delivering for Budweiser.
So let's not skip over that, because the CDL thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was, yeah.
So you had to take the time, and was it your own money, or did your company pay for you to do that?
That was my own money.
Okay.
So how long does that take? I mean, I've seen signs even on the side of the roads. It's like, get your CDL. Like, I mean, that's a process. What is that? The schooling?
So I think right now it's a 4-week program.
Okay.
But back at that time, you weren't required to go to school. You could just do it. So, but I went to school just because I didn't know where I wanted to go. And then being at UPS, I thought, okay, they give me every single endorsement on this going through the school. So I went and did that, and it was a 4-week program. And I'm like, hey, does this help move me up on that 10-year waiting list? And then, nope, that doesn't. It's still 10 years. I was like, oh, geez.
So this is the point that I'm getting at, is the mentality of I'm sitting here doing whatever it is that I'm doing, and I want more. So you decide upon your own self to go out there and get that CDL and work for it, and maybe this will give me another edge. Maybe this will help me. I don't know. But you take the time and your own money to do that. That's the beginning of this whole entrepreneurial type attitude and mentality, rather than sitting back and going, okay, well, I'll just take it as it comes. Like, things will get better. I don't know, like, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So hopefully I'm not throwing you off track, but I think these are important things to talk about.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I wanted to know, what could I do to better myself? And that was the first thing that popped up. I'm in the delivery business, and I see these guys driving these trucks. I think I can do that. So I went, studied, got my CDL, and then, of course, they still told me, no, this doesn't, bump you up. Well, at this time, I'm 21 years old. We're trying to buy our own house. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm making $11 an hour, working 20 hours a week. It's not going to happen. So I ended up finding a job delivering for Dr. Pepper. And then from there, I went to Budweiser. It was kind of the same thing. Like, I went there and it was like, I think I can do more. Then I went to Budweiser.
Okay.
And at Budweiser, I was there for 3 years, and they switched us to 4-day weeks. So I had 3 days off. I'm like, what can I do on my 3 days off? I think I can make some more money. And that's where I thought about the lawn service. And it worked. I think I did that for 3 years. And it worked great having those 3 days off. But then, like I said, I kind of got to the point I was like, I don't really know if I want to do lawns anymore. Because I tried to leave Budweiser and do it full time, and it didn't work out. It wasn't enough work to keep me, just occupied at that. So I went back to driving a truck for Reinhardt, and that was a terrible mistake. That was not a fun place to work at. I was only there for 8 months. So, so when I went in there, I kind of talked to them like, I think I'm going to leave, and they're like, well, you went from driver number 43 to like driver number 20. It's like, that's awful. Look at your turnover rate. Like, that's awful. I think you need some new management in here and doing this. What can I do to get into that? And they're like, no, sorry, you're a driver. It's like, well, I'm not doing that, dude. So I left there, and I found a job at FedEx Freight, which I was really happy there. It was a great company.
Yeah.
And so I was there for, 3 years. So for 3 years I was there. And same thing, I was like, what can I do on the side of this that this lake needs? And that's where I found the auto detailing.
Okay.
Let's take a second. The Common Folk Podcast is brought to you by one of the newest and coolest brands in the outdoors, Stock and Rod. Stock and Rod brings to the outdoors person quality apparel items that you can be proud to sport. The gear is top notch and the designs are second to none. Stock and Rod also represents some of the biggest names in the outdoor social media and YouTube space by handling the design, production, and sale of their own branded merch. Check them out at www.stockandrod.com. Stock and Rod, wild game on. All right, we're back, and it's time for this.
It is time.
Well, you're acting like it's your first one. This is like number 3. Come on.
Oh, wait, number 3, what?
Well, I see 2 now. Let's not act like the hour before this.
I might start double fisting. I don't know.
She's judging you now.
She is. What the hell?
There's no judging. I'm just telling the audience. He's like acting like he's cracking his first one.
Get your facts straight.
Come on.
It's tax season. Get them numbers right.
Oh, gosh. Don't remind us of that, Ben.
Get out of here.
Andy?
Oh, yeah.
I'm done with your
I sent
attitude, judgment.
I'm going to slap you. I'm close enough. The hell?
You always threaten to cut her mic.
I will hit the button.
I will do it. I will.
One of these episodes, I'm probably going to throw down.
Oh, you can't hear you. Oh, sorry. Can't hear you now.
You are treading on thin ice.
I'm going to take these muffs off. What do they call these things? Headphones?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to throw them on the table and be like, I'm out of here. Watch.
Yeah, well, bring it on.
Boots are made for walking.
All right. So back to Johnny over here. Anybody ever call you Johnny?
Oh, yeah. High school, a lot of people just call me Johnny B. That was
Johnny B. Yep.
Johnny B.
So.
I had a buddy in high school who his last name started with a B, and we called him Johnny B.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's a Johnny B. Good. Yeah, that's that old song, right?
Yep.
But
a good one.
What did people mess up your last name to? Or did they always get it right?
I'd say most of the time they got it right, but they always associated me with Baumgars.
Yeah.
You got to be related.
If you're local,
I think I did that too. I was like, wow, does he got stake in that company over there?
I don't know why every time I hear it, I think like Baumgart, but I think of Baumgartner.
There was like a professional baseball player, I believe, that was Baumgartner.
Maybe that's what it is.
Baumgartner, and he was a Cy Young winner, won a couple, maybe 3 or 4 World Series with the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, Andy, you would know.
Yeah.
Let's just ask the sports guy.
What it was.
That's perfect.
But his B-U-M, Baumgartner.
Baumgartner.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
All right, back on track. So we've been talking through like some of your work history, and an important step in that work history is when you had your son. So how old were you, and what stage in your work history was that?
So I was working at UPS right out of high school, and he was born. I had just turned 19, so that was 2010.
Okay.
So, yeah. And that job, I can go on and on about that job.
Oh, I'm
it was
sure.
awful.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yep, that's when he was born then. And
so that young age, like the more and more you talk to people, it's like it's so common. In us,
We can relate.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was. We literally did it.
We did do it.
Yeah.
Just only three times. We've only ever done it 3 times.
We did.
Whoa.
We did it.
Yeah. I got you, Ben. I got it. Yeah. Got the proof. She's in college, about to graduate.
Right.
No, but that just makes me laugh because when you talk to your kids about it, they're like, understand what's going on, and they're like, "Oh my God, you've done that!" And like only like 2 times if there's 2 kids, and you're like, yeah, just 2 times.
Yep, 2 times.
That's 2 times. Yep.
Anyway, sorry.
So, moving on.
Moving on. I always sidetrack here.
So for me personally, when we had our first daughter, we were 19, 20. It might have been 20 when she was born. I was right on the.
We were 20. Yeah.
I think I was. Yeah, because my birthday was in March and she was born in August, so I was 20 when she was born. Absolute game changer for me. So it totally changed my direction and what I thought I wanted to do or what I needed to do now in life. So for you, when that happened, what kind of effect did that have? Like, what was the thought process for you?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It was, to be honest, I was kind of a young punk at that time, just kind of doing dumb things, just, And so when he was born, and it kind of like, holy cow, I've got to provide for somebody other than myself.
Yeah.
And so he did. It was more of a motivation. I already had that motivation of what can I do to better myself? Well, then now I have him, and that was another game changer. So, and that was right about the time where I was like, you know what, I need to find something else. And my dad, like I said, he worked for Agrivision, but he also had a CDL. So there'd be times we'd hop in a semi and drive down to Illinois to pick up a combine for John Deere. I was like, well, I think I could drive a semi. So that kind of sparked that motivation to go get that CDL. And then it kind of took off from there on driving the trucks. So, but yeah, you're right. It was a huge motivation. Like, I need to change what I'm doing because it's not right.
Yeah.
So
was that good money? I've heard truck driving is good money, or does it just depend on the company?
It does depend, but yeah, it is, and that's kind of where like I said, I was like, what can I do right now that I can make some good money, and that was kind of the first thing I thought of.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But
we've had a couple other folks on the podcast that were driving trucks, back early on with Corey Jones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Drew.
Moving rock. Drew's in that business. It's kind of one of those small town things, and that's what you hear about. Like, if you pay attention enough, like, where would we be without truck drivers and CDLs and so on and so forth? Well, it's small town America for the most part. That mentality that's operating those trucks and driving those trucks.
Did you do that, Andy?
That was my father's first job once he came back to the States after service, after he was in the military.
Okay.
Yeah. And he, like you said, small town America, from up in northeast Nebraska, he would bring trucks of cattle down to the lots in South Omaha. So when you take Kennedy Freeway up into Omaha, he always says, like, oh, I used to back in there. I used to drive. Like, he can still recognize those big old buildings.
Down to the Omaha stockyards.
Yep, down to the Omaha
that place
stockyards.
has an amazing smell, doesn't it?
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
As good as it gets.
they say that's the smell of money. I'm like, no, that's the smell of cow shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, man. So so basically, what we got to earlier was you had started this this detailing business, and then partnered up with a guy that you knew.
Yep.
You guys joined together, kind of made the thing bigger.
Yep.
Decided to take the leap. Well, actually, prior to that, you were kind of in your own facility. You were renting a facility there, I assume.
Yeah, and if we want to go back to the start of that, I was at FedEx, and kind of the same thing. Like I said, I started and I really liked the company. It was more of a just bump docks and pull it off, with a forklift, so it was less strain on your body. But then there again, I'm like, I feel like I can do more. So I said, what does this area need at the lake that doesn't have? And we didn't have anybody cleaning boats. I was like, well, my very first job in high school was detailing cars, so I think I can do that.
Yeah.
So I started off doing that and just kind of took off, and I was doing it out of my driveway. And then, I was able to find my first shop here in Plattsmouth, and that really took off. I mean, it was a lot of long
There was obviously
days.
a demand for it.
That's fantastic, too, because you were able to kind of back into it. You didn't have to put all your eggs into that basket, and it was something you were kind of familiar with.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy, too. So when I left FedEx, it was actually for, like I said, I've tried a lot of things. I had a buddy reach out to me and say they were looking for some more people to join this engineering field with a company called Olson Associates. So I was like, maybe I want to do that. I'll go back to school. Well, took that job in January of 2020, and then COVID happened.
Oh,
so I was out at Facebook working there, and it kind of shut that job site down. I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? Well, I had already started this detail business on the side. And then you were talking about Drew Jones. He was nice enough. I reached out to him and I said, hey man, I technically don't have a job right now, and kind of this is what's going on with detail. And so he was nice enough. He had me come over, drive for him.
Okay.
And it just took off while I was working for him.
Yeah.
And that dude, I can't thank him enough. I mean, I learned a lot working for him.
Yeah,
and
he's a good guy.
Kept coming to him like, look, man, I need a week off. I'm super slim. He's like, go for it. I was like, I need 2 weeks off. He's like, that's fine, man. That's fine. Come back when you're ready.
Yeah.
I just called him like, I don't know if I'm coming back, man. So
I'm busy enough to not come back. Yeah.
But he's a super good dude. And like I said, I took a lot. That was kind of my first job as like a small company. You know what I mean? Like a local guy. And
Right.
just I learned a lot on how he treated people because I'm used to the big corporate world. And that guy, he didn't treat you like a number. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So learning that from him, and then my business took off and he kept using my business. He'd call me up for details, and he'll tell you that he had some pretty dirty ones. But I told him, I was like, dude, you kept the record of the dirtiest vehicle I've ever done.
Bet.
So, but
I've been in his trucks, I know.
I bet.
But he was super cool in that, and like I said, I couldn't thank that dude enough because it was kind of like oh crap, like so we've got 2 boys, and we've got a house payment, car payments, all that stuff. I was like, I don't have a damn job, like. So it kind of did put all my eggs in one basket, but it took off, and it was really just no looking back from there. So
that's a true depiction of a true entrepreneur, and really a small town entrepreneur,
Right.
like Drew. That if you have someone work for you that has like aspirations to do something outside of your company, you support it.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, like if this is what you want to do, like cool, I'm here. And I can say for myself personally, maybe someday we'll have him on the podcast, but a guy that I worked for when we moved back home, and I was trying to start my business, and I'm out there doing dirt work with Dusty. You remember him?
Yeah.
He was always just like, hey, anytime you can get hours in, come in. If you've got something you need to do, then go do what you need to do. It was always just like, it was super supportive.
That is so pivotal too. If you're trying to do something and the guy's willing to give you work, and that's a complete flip of the mindset of I feel how a lot of this younger generation, Gen Z or whatever the hell it's being called now, where you think, oh, there's the big boss man, typically wearing a suit. He has a bunch of money. That's bad. No, these are the people making opportunities available, whether it's work, letting you work at your own pace, helping a guy out when he's down.
Yeah.
I worked for the same type of a guy, if not the biggest, one of the biggest ranchers in Boyd County. And it was the same deal. Like, he gave me work throughout high school. He didn't have to do that,
Right.
Of course, you need people to have an operation like that running, but he didn't have to give me the time of day. He could have went and invested in, older guy or somebody that knew more or whatever. But
it wasn't like, oh, you're going to do this and nothing else.
No, he knew that was my high school, college, summer gig. You know, everyone. Yeah.
And that's obviously what you experienced with Drew, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, like I said, he helped me out there. But I'd say probably my biggest supporter throughout all of my changes has been Leah.
Okay.
Like, hey, I'm going to do this.
She's been there this whole time.
Yeah, she has.
I mean, how long have you guys been a couple?
Since 2011.
So a long time. Yeah.
I met her when Braxton was 6 months old. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, she's been through it all. So it's like, hey, I think I'm going to try this. She's like, okay.
Right. And she's always done hair, right?
Yep, she has.
Yeah, so she's had that.
She just bought her own salon last year. So now it's a madhouse with our
both
house.
of you guys. Yeah.
We're on the opposite ends of schedules. We never see each other. Maybe Sundays and that's it. But
so she obviously has that entrepreneurial mindset as well, because that's what she's doing.
And she could tell you the most. I mean, I've come home just, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to say, on the entrepreneur side. She's like, well, just do this. So she's been very helpful on that side, because I'll come home kind of worked up about something, and she's like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Just do this, do that, but.
Which is.
Yeah, that support system's huge.
It is. And don't tell her this, but I don't give her enough credit. So.
Well, she's going to hear it. You can pretty much.
She might hear it. Yeah, she might hear it somewhere. I don't know.
I don't know. Are we even recording right now?
So does she have a new salon on the lake in town?
It's up there in Bellevue.
Okay.
36 and 370. So she's actually worked at that one, as long as I've known her.
Okay.
And the opportunity came up where the old owner was wanting to sell, so she bought it, and she's been renovating and do all of that. So it's going good. She's doing really well. And she's passionate about it.
Yeah.
So.
Which is cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
So where'd we get? So we were at, you had your building that you were in doing your own thing, and then now you partnered with a guy that you had met, Adam
Olson. And so funny thing about that is he was a competitor of mine.
Okay.
When I was at my building in Plattsmouth. But he was one where we kind of always shared information. So like I'd call him if I had a question, he'd call me.
So what did he do?
He also did detailing. But he had a shop up in Omaha.
Oh, okay. I was going to say in Plattsmouth too? Dang.
No,
okay.
But he was from around the lake. So he knew a lot of people down here. So he'd come down from Omaha from his shop, do a lot of details.
Gotcha.
So then one time he stopped in there and we started talking for a couple hours. And the idea just came up, what if we just make one big detail shop here where we, do everything?
How many bush lights did that take to get to that? To where you guys are kind of guarded. You're like, you're sharing ideas, but, a little, guarded a little bit. And it's like, all right, we just need to go into business together.
Yeah. He's a Busch Light drinker. I'm a Bud Light guy, but it took quite a bit of years, but it was worth it. It was a good kind of merge there, and it took off there, and it's been really good. So, but
I think that's another important point for successful entrepreneurs is to look at your competition, not necessarily as competition, but as potential opportunities.
Yep.
You have always said that.
We've run into this so many times where someone will come along that's doing something that we're doing, and they start fishing you out, and they want to do some collaboration or they want to partner or whatever, and the initial reaction is to be like, no, screw you, man. Like, I'm doing my thing. Get out of my territory.
Right.
And I'm probably the one that says that.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa, calm down.
Yeah. I'm going to do everything to block you out, whatever. But the smart decision is to sit there and figure it out. Like, all right, let's talk for a minute. Let's see, does this make sense? Can we both help each other? Can we? Because it goes back to that statement that is iconic of the rising tide brings up all ships, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty basic. That's a pretty basic thing to think about. We're all in our own ships. Let's all rise the tide together, and we all win.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what you guys did from the sounds of it.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it. And it was not the mindset of kind of just, no, screw that guy. I'm not going to work with him. But it was just, we both kind of learned from each other. Like I said, we'd call each other with things, and he was an expert when it came to cars. I mean, that dude knew anything and everything about car paint. He knew anything and everything about the interiors of them, just all these little tricks that you wouldn't think about. And I didn't know. Where I was more of, I knew a lot about the boat side of things. So it just kind of went hand in hand, and it just took off from there.
And that's what ends up happening. Is like you don't even know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And then you get into it, and you're like, oh shit, I never thought about this.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant statement. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of one thing I always tell myself is I don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let Leah hear that either. But I always go in the mindset like I'm going to learn something today, because if you have that mindset, I feel like you'll be more successful rather than have that big ego of, I know everything and you guys are going to do it my way.
100%.
My way or the highway.
Yeah.
So can we fast forward to today because you got something new cooking?
Yeah. So
what's cooking today?
We recently just bought the Beaver Lake Marina. Me and Whitney Van Winkle, and then his wife.
Yeah.
So,
that's exciting.
So
it's
for
awesome.
folks listening to this, there's a lot of people that have no idea who we are, where we are, where we live, whatever. They're all like, this is a national audience. So to help them understand, you have some friends who are also entrepreneurs who have been running a successful business for a number of years. And then you guys got together and decided, let's do some joint venture.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep, which is actually, so Whitney would technically be my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So, yep, we were actually on the boat last year.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And he's like, let's go talk about that. And it just, we talked and talked and talked, and we finally pulled the trigger, and it's going to be fun. We're all excited. It's crazy chaos right now, but it's busy season. But
And to give people kind of a perspective, Beaver Lake's about, 650 acre lake. Pretty good sized lake. And there's only one marina.
Yep.
And that's you now.
Yep, that's us.
I mean, you're going to be catching it from all angles because there's nowhere else to go. So you kind of, it's a blessing in a way. Obviously, everyone has to go to you. But then that means you're going to be taking on everybody, the good customers, the bad customers.
Oh, yeah.
People like Ben.
I'll be giving
We didn't get that guy, but I think we're going to.
Was it for sale for a little bit?
I think it was.
I didn't even know until...
They didn't really advertise it.
Okay.
So it was kind of...
But word was around, right?
Yeah. And I kind of first found out when I started my detail business. Chuck had found out that I was detailing out of my driveway in Beaver Lake. So he called me up to detail boats for the marina that they had maybe just bought, or a customer says, hey, get it detailed for me. And it had kind of come out through that. So I had asked him about it. And he's like, well, yeah, we would like to. But there was no advertising about it, don't talk about it type deal. And so then it kind of became serious in the last couple of years. And so that's where, like I said,
because they've owned it for a while and they want to like retire. Is that the deal?
Yeah,
or
they've owned it for 22 years.
Okay.
And I believe they're 67.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah.
And that's the other cool part of it is me and, Whitney, we both grew up out here. So, they've known them forever. And just, we were able to watch what they built because they bought it, way back when it was 2001. And so we were able to see what they've done to it. And then we also know a lot of those customers out there because he owns a dock and seawall along with a concrete company. So he's got a lot of customers out there. And then I had all the customers in detail. So we know half that lake already.
Okay.
And then we were just local guys wanting to buy it and not just come in and make a huge change like somebody, corporate coming in or something like that.
Yeah.
So we just, like I said, kind of coming in, we want to build on what they have already built. Knowing what they've done, the hard work they've put in. So
I think there's a couple of lessons from this particular thing that we need to talk about. So you're an entrepreneur, clearly. You're doing your thing. You're rarely ever what's the word? Content.
Yes.
You're sitting there like, man, what am I going to do next? Like, what is okay, I can do more than this. What that's the mentality. That's the entrepreneurial mentality. And then this thing comes along. And as an entrepreneur, when you're doing your things, there's plenty of stuff that comes along. You've probably been presented with other opportunities, whatever they may be. And you have to figure out, you have to decide, when am I going to pull the trigger and when am I going to not? When am I going to pivot? And you can, I wouldn't say completely change, but it is a big change to going from doing the detailing to, all right, I'm going to step away from this and I'm going to move into this this marina, which has all of these other moving parts.
Yes.
A ton of different, like that's definitely next level. I'm going to take this on, and I've made the decision that this is the next big thing I need to do.
Yep.
So, like, is what I'm saying. Can you relate to that? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, 100%. Because that's kind of where I was like, well, I can feed into this business, feed into the detailing. But then, going in there, I'm like, man, that kind of sounds fun. And then now I'm digging in. I'm like, holy cow, it's chaos, but I love it. It's just, and I understand what you're saying, because me and my parents kind of joked about it when my detail business kind of took off. I was just kind of like, I just kind of wasn't content. And, they joke about it and say, no, you just don't like listening to people. I was like, no, I kind of feel like I could always do something better. If I was at a company, I felt like it could have been managed better this way, or this could make this company go more smooth this way. And that was just, I finally caught on. I'm like, well, it's corporate. You're not going to change corporate.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. It's just not being content. And here, I think this is kind of where I'm going to be. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, like you said. I mean, we're, buying boats, buying lifts, selling lifts. We've got, I think it's 8 storage units off-site, and then we've got 5 buildings on-site, and then we've got 3 mechanics, so we're servicing boats, and it's a lot.
Okay.
If I had to make a prediction based on what you just said, I think that you guys will absolutely be successful because you have the mentality to do it. But your comment of like, this is where I'm going to be, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like and I'm not saying that you're going to leave this operation.
No.
I'm saying that you're going to make this operation successful, but because I can relate. Like it's very hard to be content. And that's what keeps you driving. That's what keeps you like, just, getting after it, making things successful.
Right. Absolutely. And I just kind of learned that, at a young age playing sports. And that's why, whenever I was able to coach, youth, that's kind of what I try to put in their minds, is just always work for something greater. You got better, today, get better tomorrow. Just kind of that mentality.
Yeah.
So.
And enjoy it, right? Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
For sure. You can't forget to do that.
Yeah. I'm just so glad you didn't bury him. You were building up there, and I'm like, this is why you're going to fail, Jon.
Oh, no.
No, I don't think he's going to fail. But I think that's a very good point, is that because that's what happens, is that we get so focused on
goals.
What's the next thing? How do we make it better? How do we do this? Whatever, where you forget to slow down a little bit and just enjoy it a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that I like the layout, the location of the marina. I think it's really nice. And you're just gonna have to remember, hey, let's go have a couple of Bud Lights out on the deck there.
And that's one great thing. I've been in there like the last 4 or 5 weeks with Chuck and Kathy learning. Every day, 5 o'clock, Chuck has 3 beers in his hand. One for me, one for him, and one for Kathy.
Nice.
So there's
nice.
And if you want to make it 4 and invite me over, whatever.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with
that. You can do that.
So will you do any detailing there? Or wait, and let me first ask, are you doing the detailing anymore?
No, I'm not. I'm,
okay.
Still associated with it. Adam's running that.
Gotcha.
And so, like I said, we're going to feed into that. So he was actually down at the place today doing some details for us. But
okay, so you'll send him.
Yep, I'll send him all the customers
the details
and stuff like that.
I see. Okay, perfect. Well, that works great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's just those, it's clearly just those progressive steps of getting bigger and better and growing and taking on new challenges.
Yeah, I
and
think
so
you guys
so
could
forth.
just like add a restaurant and then serve everybody at the dock too. I mean, I'm just putting a suggestion out there, Jon.
There's
okay,
things that could be done.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I like that. Just a restaurant.
I mean,
no big deal.
No big deal. It's,
Right.
I'm sure you're hearing. Are you hearing from people like
you need to
constantly do this, do that?
Yeah, yep. And we're trying to take it a step at a time.
I know.
Like I said, they've done a great job of building it to what it is, but we want to take it and build on top of it. And, they were the first to say we've kind of been laxed, So somebody young like you guys that are local, you're coming in with motivation, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's what it needs.
That's kind of where we're at. We're just starting to learn everything, trying to, intake all that, but at the same time, we'd like to bring in some more stuff. So I know, like, you guys were calling last week about bait. We want to get that in there. So we get that. We're looking at maybe adding like a pro shop, stuff like that. And eventually, we're talking about maybe like a little sit down.
Or just like a little bar.
Yep. Katie already bought was it a Keurig or something?
Okay.
She wants a little coffee bar.
Yeah, I saw that getting set up today.
Yeah.
Lore.
That's good stuff.
I like
there
it.
We go.
I like it. This sounds like a good.
No, it's cool, man.
Good
And that's
move.
and again, like the whole point is just striving to get better, striving to do the next thing. it takes a certain kind of personality to do that, a certain kind of trust in what your capabilities are. I mean, like a lot of people are.
I wouldn't do. I don't have like I'm not. Yeah, that's not me. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to just always. I don't have that huge entrepreneur.
And it's not for everybody,
right?
And it's not. And it's not better than someone else doing their very successful 9 to 5.
But it's cool to hear the journey and like the drive that you have. Like that's interesting to me because it's different than and then you're saying you can relate. So that's why I think it's kind of.
And that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
Is to like give people a little bit of understanding in the mind of the person who is willing to step out there and do all these kind of things.
Right.
Yeah. And to make you feel at ease. I mean, just look at Ben. He can do it. You can do it, Joe. I had to work a little.
Well, then that was.
You guys were beating me up the last couple.
We're always beating you up.
I know.
Or I am.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes Ben does.
You guys got Adam going a couple podcasts ago, over pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just had to get your back.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
So with all those things that we've talked about, man, we're kind of coming to a close here. Is there anything that, when you were thinking about coming onto the podcast, you were thinking like, oh man, they're going to ask me this, or I hope this comes up, or I'd like to talk about this. Is there anything that we missed as far as that goes?
No, I think we hit it all. And like I told you guys, I was thinking over the weekend, I'm like, gosh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then I get here and I drew a blank. But no.
I mean, just with your story in general or anything like that,
The biggest thing I can say to kind of narrow it down is, it kind of sounds crazy when you say it, but no risk, no reward.
Yeah.
So, and this one is a huge risk. And I mean, like huge risk. So, but hopefully that comes with a good reward. And we're going to, kind of tackle it. So you just got to find, and it's hard to even say, find something you love. Just, you have to have that drive. And that's something that's hard to teach, but like you said, you're kind of the same way. It's just never being content. And like I said, I think this is where I'm going to stay. But if Leo's sitting here, she'd say, bullshit. No, you're not. This isn't going to work.
So she would side with Ben on this.
I don't even sleep with you, and I know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Depending on the day, she doesn't either.
We're learning so much here today.
Yeah, we are.
But I do want to book you for a follow-up.
Okay.
Get you back on the pod after you get done with all the winterization. So you're going to take care of everyone's broken down boat motors right now.
Yep.
They're gonna want them done yesterday, even though they're not gonna get them in until next week. And then it's gonna be the same thing with winterizing. So after you get done with that whole wave of one full year, I wanna hear some.
Like, what's the follow up? Like, how did that go?
And hopefully that time I won't be so nervous coming on here. So
Shit, no, it's all good.
I'm ready to get back into detailing.
Yeah.
So
I've had enough of this. I'm out.
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
will.
We're all excited.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good deal.
It will for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah, man. No, and I think that's a great way to end it. What you said, no risk, no reward. It's and that applies to so many different things in life. Whether it's entrepreneurship or going out and just trying a new position at a different job or whatever. I mean,
and one thing I can say too, you guys probably been in the same thing, but I remember being at my 8 to 5 job, 9 to 5, whatever it was, working for somebody else. And anytime they would ask anything extra for you, obviously you do it, but the feeling of you going above and beyond in your own business for a customer, that feeling is something you can't match at a 9 to 5 job.
yeah.
That is so true.
Because I kept in touch with a lot of my buddies at FedEx. We kind of got close. And, I'd let them know, send them pictures of things I'm doing, and it'd be 11 o'clock at night, midnight. And they're like, gosh, you're crazy. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I enjoy that. It's a different feeling. Whereas it'd be 5 o'clock and be like, hey, can you work an extra? I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But then here I am, giving all that time in there. But that feeling, it's hard to, I just don't think you can get that working at a 9 to 5 job. In my opinion.
I would agree with that, yeah. Most of the folks I've talked to, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
For sure.
Yeah. I like that.
So, yeah, man, I mean, once again, like, it's I don't want people to think, like, we're trying to say everyone needs to be an entrepreneur.
No, because I related and I was like, I mean, I've had my own business and done some things, and obviously I'm a huge part of Farm Focused, and help run that. But like you spearhead that stuff. I always say I'm a good Indian, not like a huge like chief in the sense, if that's even like I can even say that. But I'm not a big thought, not a leader, but I don't have the ideas. But I'm a good executor, and I feel like. There are people like me that are also needed.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't,
yeah, 100%. I think that, and again, I think that's the whole point is figuring out, and that's the idea of interviewing folks like Jon is, does this help you figure out who you truly are? Like, because maybe you're thinking about this and you hear what he's saying and you relate, and then you're like, yes, I that's what I want to do. I got it, Yeah. But if not, then no. Like, people need to figure out what they are best at and what they need to do and get after it, man.
Yeah.
And I like your comment about the chief and the Indian thing, because I'm not telling people to go to your 9-to-5 job and kind of be a piece of crap and don't work extra, don't work hard, because they do need those. But
100%. And you have employees. We have employees.
Yeah.
These are people who today
farm focused wouldn't work if you didn't have employees.
Yes, today they don't own their own business, but they might want to.
Yeah.
And then we help them foster that. Yep. And then if they don't want to, then we help them have a really good job and take care of them.
Yeah.
And boom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I feel like I said Drew was when I was there.
Yeah.
And then I'd have questions about it and be like, oh, yeah, just do this. So he was very helpful in that. And if, I can do the same thing with my employees, if they have something going that's going to better them, then absolutely.
There you go.
So work with them.
Yep.
That'd be one of the most rewarding things you could do, when you look back on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like you made a sports analogy, but like a coaching tree. It naturally happens. A great coach always ends up fostering or promoting a lot of his understudies, assistant coaches, to where now they're head coaches.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just think of like Nick Saban. He has NFL coaches. There's like a dozen college coaches, all that coached underneath of him.
Yep.
So it's just a really cool natural progression. If you can bring that type of passion to something.
Yep,
for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, this was good. Thanks for coming, Jon.
Man. Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. I think this went well, so it was fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming out,
Yeah.
man.
So we're booking you for next year, it sounds like.
I'll come more prepared.
Yep. After winter, after
Andy
you
wants
get
an
everything.
update.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a boat, Andy?
Yes and no. It's through our fishing show, hunting show.
Yeah.
So we have a boat sponsor, and they provide a boat for us. And we freaking wrecked one a couple years ago, and the marina took care of it. Now, when I say wrecked it, one of our guys that's no longer with us totally put it through the mud, so it sucked up all that crud. It was a Honda motor, and they're like, "Oh, don't do that to a Honda." I'm like, "Well, I didn't, but please fix it. I can't take it back to them like this." And they did a fantastic job. So
Good.
So you have a good history with
I
them.
do have a good history with them. Let's just hope it stays that way.
All right. Yeah.
It should.
It will. Awesome. Well,
Cool.
This is great. Thanks again.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man. We're going to close it out.
Close it out.
You guys
Peace.
good?
All right.
Yeah.
Later.
All right. See ya.